Have the Boston Celtics finally found their starting lineup for the time being with Marcus Morris and Marcus Smart in their starting five? This segment is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood is offering users a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. Go to gardenreport.robinhood.com today. That's gardenreport.robinhood.com.
Cavs need actual Robin Hood. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. They could use.
There's a
They
take.
could use. Yeah, they could
There's
use
a
a
take.
little bit of the actual.
Yeah, one
Robin Hood.
takeaway from tonight was that the Cavaliers are not in great shape at the moment, but we got another chance to see the same starting lineup that the Celtics dished out on Monday in New Orleans that included Marcus Morris and Marcus Smart, but instead of Al Horford, we saw Aaron Baines. Al Horford received the night off due to rest, first night of a back-to-back. So, is this the Celtics starting lineup for Brad Stevens going forward here?
I think, yeah, slide Horford back in. And I think it has to be. I mean, you can't, and I said this before, you can't mess with the success. I mean, we know that they weren't finding too much success with the starting lineup that they had to start the year. And that's funny because all offseason we were getting, people were saying, oh, well, would this guy come off the bench? And we were like, guys, they're going to start these 5 players. These are the 5 best players. Let's not even talk about this. And now look, Brown's going to the bench. The 2 Marcuses are in. So, and I think they are going to keep it. I think there's some balance there. I think that Kyrie and Marcus Smart have a good, yin and yang going with them right now. Obviously Marcus comes in, he's like tenacious defender, and then Kyrie is just like next level right now with the ball in his hands and hitting shots. And then Morris has been, probably aside from Kyrie, their most consistent player all year.
Yeah.
So throwing him in the starting lineup, maximize his, his usage right now. And I think that they've just got we knew how deep they were, and we're just finally starting to see it.
If you had told me at the beginning of the season that Marcus Morris was going to be the most consistent and efficient player on this team, I would have told you were insane. But back to the yin and yang thing with Kyrie and Marcus Smart, I think it's interesting. They've been working Marcus Smart as a primary ball handler a lot going forward here. And Kyrie's worked really well off the ball. Do you think they're going to continue with that going forward? Say Jaylen Brown comes back healthy. How do you think that impacts this rotation? I mean, things are going pretty well in that backcourt at the moment.
I think the backcourt stays. I mean, and it's funny that they are working smart with the ball because we know how good Kyrie is with the ball in his hands. But to free him up, and he does have that release that when he's feeling it, you want to just get him. Want to get him around screens. You want to get him open for the shot. You want to get him in motion. When he catches that ball in motion, him going to the rim, I mean, there's really nobody trickier than he is going to the rim. So I think it's working well for them right now. And why would you change it? I mean, they've got back-to-back games where they, the season high in points. Yep. And I just think that you'd be overthinking it to go back to something that wasn't working just because, to start the year, Jaylen Brown wants you to start. No, I mean, yes, Jaylen Brown is a super talented player, and could he be in a lot of starting lineups? Absolutely. But if he, I think he's going to start off the bench to begin with because he's coming back from an injury. Yeah. So it makes sense. You're not going to throw him back into the fire and throw him 35 minutes. You're going to ease him back in. And as long as the results remain, the Celtics in the W column, or even if they're close L's, I mean, I think you got to stick with what's working right now and stick with what players are meshing with what players.
Yeah, and I think it's certainly working early on in these games. A lot of the Celtics struggles in the beginning of the season, they got off to these really, really poor starts where they'd find themselves down double digits and they'd go into this desperation mode in the second half. Marcus Smart doesn't allow that. He jumps right out. He had to force a turnover in the first possession of tonight's game right off the bat, and I think that energy is extremely important. A lot of people find starting lineups maybe are overthought and not as important as people think, but for this team, those quick starts have been pretty important as of late.
Because you saw them go down double digits and then claw their way back, and then like in the fourth quarter they're scrambling and they make it a game and then they lose. It's like Marcus Smart, he will just punch you in the mouth to start the game. Like he's taking that first punch, he's setting the tone, and he's getting the guys going. I think maybe even some of the players were coming out flat, and with Marcus Smart out there, when you get a guy, he's just like a dog out there, and fighting for everything, you can't help but feed off that if you're out in the court playing with him. And I think that that's really resonated recently, and you can see it. And when the Celtics do jump out to that early lead, they're most of the time, if not always, the more talented team on the court, where they just need to keep the foot in the gas, and they're gonna be just fine. And we saw that in the second half. They really just kind of took it to the Cavs Friday night and just really showed the difference in talent.
The Marcuses in the starting lineup seems to be working very well at this point. We'll have to wait and see down the road if Brad Stevens does stick with this starting 5. Follow us at CLNS Media and Celtics CLNS on Twitter. Leave your thoughts on the Celtics starting 5 in the comments.